ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Registered Ranching Podcast. Tucker Brown and Willie Wardle live behind the mic. Welcome back, Willie.
Welcome, Tucker Brown, to the beautiful city of Throckmorton.
No.
We're not in Throckmorton?
No. Looks a little different, doesn't it?
Hedge funds, baby. I'll say it again.
We find ourselves at the Omni Hotel in Fort Worth, Texas, for a fun weekend at the Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers. We're members of Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers. Had committee meetings yesterday. Got to speak this morning on a direct-to-consumer panel, and we have a couple interviews lined up.
Some important people rolling in here.
Some important ones. We saw a couple important people yesterday too.
Yeah.
We saw Sid Miller yesterday, and at Fenolio Boots.
Fenolio Boots.
And then that's what I'm wearing.
That's what I'm wearing.
I'm trying them out. Throw them up there. Look at the camera.
They're brand new.
They are.
Is this professional enough?
New boot goofing.
I could start doing all the podcasts like this.
I don't know if that'd be good. But, one thing we're going to need this weekend, because we already didn't get enough sleep last night, is some real cowboy energy. Was that a good one?
That was a good one.
That was a good one. I've got the Agave Lime Ranch Fuel, and haven't you tried it yet, folks? Try the Agave Lime, because it's my favorite. Willie likes the blackberry lemonade.
I do, but orange cream is pretty good too.
Orange is pretty good, yeah. Use code Tucker Brown, all caps, no space, at ranchfuel.com. Try it out.
Lower that MSRP.
Try it out. Anyway, yeah, great guests. We're setting the bar really high, and whenever you're about to go into a room with a person that is wittier than you are?
I was nervous. Still
am. I feel that way at the moment because you just know. Most of the time I feel like I've got a pretty good shot, but today I just know I don't.
Good luck, buddy. I'm just the
Pass
co-host.
it over to you.
This is your show.
Yeah, but today, the Executive Vice President of the Texas Beef Council, I would like to welcome to the podcast Miss Molly McAdams. Yeah, we even got the crowd cheering for you. But yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, Executive Vice President, Texas Beef Council, done a lot of really cool things, worked with HEB, and I learned just moments ago that you had your own beef company as well for a little while. Mm-hmm. And this isn't your first time at the Texas Beef Council either. But I love your ability of using the right vocabulary and talking to people, and your ability to speak at conventions or to a board of directors in a way that they want to listen. And what? Oh, I thought you were saying. I was like, what did I say? Yeah, your ability to be able, like, for people when Molly McAdams talks,
Disrespectful.
people want to listen. Or maybe it's just me, but
it might be just you.
It might be just me,
Whatever.
but I think it's clear with your
But
position.
I have an impact on one at least. I know that
There
now.
you go.
I
There
know
you go.
that, Tucker.
Hold that hat, yeah. Put that. You can wear the hat with that. But Executive Vice President at Texas Beef Council. Let's just start there. What is that position, and what is the Texas Beef Council?
Well, there are state beef councils all over the country. And what we do is we collect checkoff dollars, and they're paid for through, ranchers, cattle producers pay checkoff dollars so that you can jointly promote research and educate people about beef. So we work on behalf of ranchers to speak to consumers about the quality of the product that you guys produce. And it's a fun job. We've got about 20 people on our team. We're the largest state beef council by far.
Yeah.
Because we have more cattle in the state of Texas than any other state, by far. And we have a lot of people that live here too. So it's great. We get to speak to consumers. You guys get to keep doing what you're doing and know that we're out there promoting the benefits, the health benefits and all benefits, versatility, all the different things about beef. We get to talk about it all the time.
How long have you been working in the, would you say, in the broad spectrum way, the beef industry?
Gosh, forever. So I have a degree in meat science. And when I started school as an art major.
Oh, wow.
Private school. I know, a lot of people don't know that. I told you I was going to tell you secrets
That's where all the
today.
creativeness comes from.
That's where the creativeness comes from. And the weirdness, really. It's more weird than creative, I suppose.
No wonder I appreciate it.
That's
Yeah.
right, exactly. We're the same here.
Yeah.
So I started at a small school. My dad was a veterinarian, and so I kind of grew up around horses, in particular racehorses. But my grandfather had cattle, and my uncles all raised cattle. So I got up to University of Florida and took my first meat science course and fell in love with it.
Go Gators.
Go Gators!
Go Gators, big
Natty
week.
champ.
It was a
I
big
know.
week. Natty champ.
I've got it. Yeah, I'm sporting it. I already showed it to your dad.
They shouldn't have beat Tech.
I know.
Tech shouldn't have been there,
Yeah.
but they shouldn't have.
You know
was gonna
what?
ask
Somebody
about
has to
the Gator.
win.
was
Somebody
good.
had to win. It
did.
just had to be us.
Wow.
So, there you have it.
So, been in it for a minute.
Been in it for a long time.
Been in it for a minute.
Been in it for a minute. And then in one way, shape, or form, I've always kind of worked around the meat industry.
Yeah.
I worked for a couple different meat packing plants, which was interesting. Worked in retail, married to a rancher. I feel like I know the industry kind of front to back, the whole spectrum. But I would say that I'm weakest on the live cattle side of it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And your husband works at a little ranch.
Yeah, little ranch. Little ranch, yes. He manages, our little place that we live on. Yeah, it probably works as harder than any of the big ranches he ever worked at. But, yeah, so anyway.
Just a little one.
Just a little one.
But what I feel like the Texas Beef Council has, I like to hit this off first because I feel like there's some misconceptions or misunderstanding in what the Beef Council does, with some ranchers being frustrated
Yep.
with what's going on. Why do you think that is?
Yeah. Well, I think it runs the gamut. We've got folks that are unbelievably passionate about the checkoff. They volunteer time. They put a lot of effort into the way strategies get written and the work that we do. And they volunteer for years. And then we have some that are kind of agnostic. Like they see checkoff dollars coming out of their, like if they sell calves at a livestock market, for example, doesn't bother them one way or another. They don't particularly know what we do, but it doesn't really bother them. And then there's a really small, it's a very small minority that are not happy with the checkoff for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they just don't know what we do or they don't know the impact of it.
Sure.
Or if it's just a strong libertarian streak of some sort and they just don't like the idea of dollars being put together to promote their product to consumers.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason is, I have a lot of respect for it either way. I always like talking to people about what we do, including folks that are upset, because I feel like we have a great story to tell about what we do on behalf of ranchers all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've done a number of events that the beef checkoff has been included in. I did a beef 706,
Yep.
which was really cool. And that is where I probably learned the most about how much I didn't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Even though I thought, raised in the cattle industry, been back home at the ranch for almost 8 years, and thought I knew, and I did not. Turns out the industries are different. The
totally
beef industry is different from the cattle industry.
They are totally different. And you know what? They're equally complex because, like I said, I get the meat industry side of it. And I've been involved in that for a long time. And, I grew up around large animals. So it's not like I wasn't around that sort of an environment. But horses are a lot different than cattle. So that it's that live cattle side of it that I don't understand as well.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know it a little bit better, of course, being married to Jim for such a long time. But they are such different industries. I mean, once you convert into meat, it all starts over again. They're massive commodity markets, huge industries, and they're really complex. And so I feel more comfortable on the meat side of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned you had worked with the Texas Beef Council before. Well, before I go there, what do you think what is typically your first response when somebody is bothered, whatever their questioning or conception is of the beef checkoff in a negative way? What is typically your first description or first answer when describing? What are the words I'm looking for?
Maybe what questions they have.
Yeah.
Normally what I do is I ask them, what is their opinion? Because I want to know how do they feel about it, right? And And then usually what that does is it opens up a conversation.
Yeah.
Recently, I'll give you an example. I was at a meeting, and this is not my normal approach, by the way. I do tend to be a bit more polished than this, but I was talking to a gentleman, and he said, he made a comment about, well, the, ranch raised beef, which is excellent, but it doesn't have all of the chemicals and the dyes and the preservatives that is in beef at retail. And I said, that's just not true. And that he looked at me like I had 7 snakes coming out of the top of my head. I said, it's not true. I worked in retail. I am a meat scientist. It's just not true.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, how come people say that? I said, I don't know why they say it. I don't know why they say it on Facebook, but you need to know it's not only not true, it's also illegal to do that. And he's like, oh. So that opened up an entire conversation just because he kind of boldly asserted something that he believed. It had nothing to do with the checkoff, but what I found is that when folks start talking about whatever their questions are, it gives you that opportunity to have a conversation. I'm not going to say that you convert everybody, but it's hard to dispute the success that has happened since 1986 with really a small percentage of dollars for the size of the industry that we have. The meat industry is about $100 billion industry in this country. And we have, give or take, including state checkoffs like Texas has, there's about $80 million of checkoff dollars. And that's not all federal. That includes state checkoff.
Yeah.
That's a very small marketing budget for a $100 billion industry.
Right.
I mean, stack that up against somebody like Unilever or Procter & Gamble, and usually it's 25% of sales goes into marketing.
Wow.
So when you look at it from that perspective, we're doing a lot of work on a pretty slim margin, and the work is really effective too.
And for those outside of the industry that may not know what the checkoff is, and you're talking federal and state, where it was 1986 was when
federal was passed in 86.
And $1 for every head that was sold
Yep.
would be sent to the beef checkoff to use basically for marketing
Yep.
the U.S. beef industry or beef to the United States and world, I guess.
Yeah, and the world actually, because we do have global efforts as well. But yeah, it's on every transaction, just to be clear. So
right.
if the animal sells multiple times, there will be a checkoff at every time the animal is sold.
Yeah.
And that's on a national level. And then now I'm going to get this number wrong, but I want to say, I think that there's 19 states now that have a state checkoff as well. And the checkoff started really back in the 1920s with a voluntary assessment to help market beef. And what's funny about it is if you go back in time and you look at what the challenges were to our industry in the 1920s, it was the same thing. It was people not understanding the nutritional attributes that beef brings to the table, not understanding how to cook it and prepare it for their family. Simple questions. Consumers have the exact same questions now, is what's crazy.
Huh.
I know.
100 years later.
100 years later. But it started voluntarily, and then it became a mandatory assessment in 1986 as part of the 1985 Farm Bill. And then Texas passed an additional checkoff, which is refundable. That checkoff passed in 2014. So
And by
we've really...
refundable, I mean, you can get that back.
You can ask for a refund if you, for some reason, are not happy with paying checkoff dollars. You can go online and ask for a refund. And we'll happily refund your money.
Is there a lot that do that?
No, it's a very low percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're proud of that. I mean, we have a low percentage, and we're really transparent about the work that we do. We have great websites, 2 different ones. One is beeflovingtexans.com, which is our consumer website, but it's a great place for producers to go and get materials, whether it's recipe cards, anything like that. There's another website called texasbeefcheckoff.com, .org.com.
TexasBeefCheckoff.com?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That's right. That's what it is. I don't know. Go to Texas Beef Checkoff. You will find it. Anyway, so that is more of a business-like website. So if you're a producer and you want to know either how to pay the check off or any questions about it, you can look at our annual report on there. You can see the kind of work that we're doing. You can go to that website and find it.
I've heard a lot of your the work you did at HEB, and maybe some new things out of the box thinking. You talked and you already mentioned one of them of like have how to prepare it and some things you did at HEB to have food ready to prepare. I'd like for you to talk about that because you talked about your art degree and creativeness.
Well, it wasn't an art degree. It was 1 year. Remember,
year of working on. Okay, excuse me.
Failed out pretty much. So,
can just talk about that.
So strangely enough, I got hired at HEB with no business experience at all. Meat scientist. I was working for the beef industry in a research position. And they hired me to start this line of products called their fully cooked meat. And I didn't know how to do any product development. I didn't know how to do any of that kind of stuff. So what was interesting about it at the time is I used a lot of folks who were making products for food service because their product quality was higher. And we found these manufacturers that would make exclusive products for HEB in our retail packaging. And that's where that art background comes in. I mean, we designed all of our own packaging. Beautiful. Still beautiful there. They do a great job with that team. But my job, I leaned more on my meat science background, where what I was trying to get our suppliers to do was create products that tasted just like you would make them at home. And so it means, we were talking about this ranch fuel and how clean the label is on this. And it's a beautiful label too, by the way, because I love looking at packaging. It's a very beautiful label, but it's also a super clean ingredient statement. And that's something that I focused on really hard with this cooked meat at HEB, because I wanted it to taste like you cooked it yourself at home. So if you make a pot roast at home, and I had a fully cooked pot roast that I created, I used the exact same recipe that my mom would use when she made pot roast, which is pretty simple.
Yeah.
It was seasoned flour. She'd dredge it in flour and then cook it with X amount of liquid. That's all it is, as opposed to looking at a long ingredient deck that can be a real turnoff. They were very simple products.
Gotcha.
And it really took off. And, gosh, we were going through some crazy launches in the early days. I compared it to like trying to catch a greased pig, because you'd launch a product, and as good at executing as HEB is, those market managers would just go crazy with new products. So we had launches that would hit $1 million in sales in a week. And as a buyer, it was hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd be like, all right, guys, let's go. Hang on, guys, go slower. Run you out of product. And it was a great way to launch. I mean, we would immediately kind of go into obsolescence, and then people wanted more of it. But it was fun. We had a lot going on. And, we built about $150 million category in about 5 years.
Wow.
And it was just it was fun. Like I said, I didn't have a clue about business. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just was making stuff and putting it in a package. And then all these fantastic market managers all over the state of Texas were selling the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And they're great at it. That's what they're incredible at executing. So it was a fun run. And then I ended up taking over, I didn't take over anything. I was promoted to lead all of Own Brand, which was all their private label. And you'll get a kick out of this because of where y'all live. You're not that far from Childress, but the last project that I worked on, we did everything except for alcohol, tobacco, and fuel, and straight pharmaceutical products. Everything else was this private label that HEB had. The last project I worked on, I was in China right before I left HEB, and we were doing these dolls that were called Texas Girl dolls. And so one of them was a veterinarian, one of them was a soccer player, one was a quinceanera doll, and one was a rodeo queen. So we were working on hair for the rodeo queen. And we had the premium hair package, right? So you're over there choosing dolls and their clothes and their hair. And I said, she doesn't have enough hair. Oh, no, that's the premium hair. I'm like, we need more hair. No, not enough hair. So I take out my phone and I pull up a picture of Jennifer Douglas Smith when she was Miss Rodeo America. And I showed that picture to the Chinese and they were like, oh, we need more hair. And so that was the last project I worked on. And we got the hair.
There you go.
We had this well, it was a knockoff of American Girl doll, this Texas Girl doll with a tiara and a hat. And man, that doll had a head of hair like you could not believe. It was gorgeous. And so that's the kind of stuff I got to work on as a meat scientist.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm picking hair for an American rodeo princess doll.
Interesting.
I know. Crazy. Crazy stuff I got to work on.
What were some of the, I was about to say, what were some of the wilder things, but American Girl, Texas Girl doll kind of sounds.
It was out there. Yeah, we did a major rebrand. One of the things I'm most proud of is we rebranded all of the children's food. We had a line. H-E-B has a mascot called H-E-Buddy, which is a grocery sack with has a T-bone sticking out of his head. He's got a thing of celery. It's a grocery sack full of groceries.
Yeah.
Kids love him, H-E-Buddy. But it was a brand of kids' food. And about the time my son was born, I started really looking at these foods and, again, looking at labels and looking for clean labels in particular. And so we reformulated the H-E-Buddy brand. It would have been back in, like, say, 2003, give or take, so a long time ago. But we reformulated it to be the first clean label and nutrition-based brand for children in the United States. And we were able to do that through private label at H-E-B. So I'm really proud of that. And, you know, there are meat products in there, of course, because I'm going to work on meat always.
Yeah.
But just a lot of really good stuff. And we got rid of, like, the bright purple yogurt and that kind of stuff. I mean, kids don't need to eat that kind of stuff. They don't need to have neon foods.
Right.
Right?
It's in wildlife. It's bright.
That's right.
Stay away.
Yeah, that's true.
That's exactly
Poison
right.
dart frogs. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it's neon. Stay
Coral
away.
snakes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
Rattlesnakes need to be a little bit brighter.
They do
blend
need to
in
be
too
brighter.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I'd
blend
be
in
okay
way
with that.
too well. Yeah.
What from HEB and to how much consumer information was HEB knowing, learning, researching as you were making these products? How much did that have to do with it?
Oh, man. HEB is a company. They're data heads. I mean, they analyze everything. And, of course, you have sales data to access, which is helpful. But they also had a consumer insights section. They still do. A good friend of mine runs that. And so and you know that when you're in their neighborhood. They know a lot about their customers. They're just so good at it, and it's such an impressive company. So you had access to all of that as somebody working there. You knew what the customers wanted. And frankly, you know, there's a lot of employees with a company that large, and they reflect the neighborhood that they work in. And so a lot of times all we had to do was ask partners, what do you think about this? You know, and so they call their employees partners, and you just ask the partners, you know, like if I was down in the Valley, the partners down there are all Hispanic, and if I'm trying to do a barbacoa, I'd be like, all right, guys, what do y'all think? And they would tell me if it's like, no, that's not authentic. You can't sell that down here.
Yeah.
And that was before barbacoa just became ubiquitous with like shredded beef. I mean, you know, especially in Texas, barbacoa has a standard definition.
Yeah.
And it's not like what Chipotle makes, right? It's more authentic than that. But yeah, we had access to a tremendous amount of information just to understand what consumers kind of, what I would always say is you want to know what people think, how they feel, and what they're going to do as a result. And if you can solve that or get close to that, you're going to get close to what a consumer wants.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is how do they feel when they're inside your store. So.
Well, I find that interesting because a lot of times when you're the couple talks I've heard you talk has really been consumer faced. I feel like of what they want or trends maybe.
Yep.
Have the trends changed since you were at HEB to where you are now?
Well, the one thing, I just got back from the American Meat Conference. Your dad was there.
He was. He loved it.
I'm
He
sure,
loved
yeah,
it.
He did. He talked to everybody.
He did.
Like he knew them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all his new friends.
Oh, he was in his little happy place. Yeah.
He was in a happy place. But one thing they talked about was how much grass-fed has grown. And so as a meats person, there's always such a very, very small percentage of the beef that we sell in this country. And it's grown every year. But now it's off of a pretty significant base. And so that to me was pretty significant. But the other piece that's a really big deal is consumers are continuing, even though beef is expensive right now because of the drought, consumers are really continuing to purchase beef at a significantly higher market percentage than any other protein, than chicken, than pork. Now, chicken has more volume, but it's at such a lower price.
Yeah.
The value is all in the beef category. And that makes me feel good because that means we're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a great job with the way that we raise cattle, quality product. It's tender, it's juicy. We've got the marbling and the genetics to produce a really great product. And consumers see that. I mean, they see it, whether it's in a fresh steak or it's a value-added beef product. They're seeing that, and they're continuing to buy it even at these high prices. That's saying something about the demand for our product in this country and around the world, too. I mean, we see it with the world.
Sure. Yeah, Donald likes to say, do you know what he says about the 3 Bs that are inflation-proof?
Mm-mm. Oh, beer, tobacco, and beef.
Yep.
I
Beef,
remember.
beer, and tobacco.
That's right. Tobacco's the last one.
Beef, beer, and tobacco being the 3 things so far that have been pretty inflation-proof
Yeah.
through COVID. And the demand from the low in the 80s,
Really, 98 is when it bottomed out.
98.
Yeah, we kind of hit rock bottom in 1998. We had a lot of problems. Main problem was we didn't have a tender product.
Yeah.
And we started researching it and found out that 25% of our product was a failure, according to consumers. You don't stay in business very long with 25% failure rate. No, I tease that it's very similar to y'all are way too young to know this, but when I was in high school, I had a 1974 Chevy Dually 454. Man,
Now you're speaking his language.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
you
pretty
can
sweet.
see it.
That was a horse hauling sucker, man. When it ran. Now, you know what? It
Was it
wasn't.
two-toned?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah. Beautiful. That nice square hood, big engine. At some point when gas got really expensive, my dad retrofitted it to run off of propane. So we had this huge propane tank and it would fit right up underneath the nose of our gooseneck for hauling those horses. I ran that sucker up and down I-75 in Florida. Nothing. I mean, it took me a long time to get to 50, but
Yeah.
to 50 to 85, no time. But
You got rolling.
once you got rolling. Now, that sucker broke down all the time. So whenever I think about the beef industry, it's I love that truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the beef industry, but how long can you stick with something if it breaks down 25% of the time?
Gotcha.
The checkoff figured it out, though. So back to that question about what does a checkoff do? It was checkoff research that identified that consumers were not happy with our product. And then it was research that identified what interventions do we need to get our product up to snuff. And we haven't had a problem with tenderness really since the early 2000s. It's just been incredible what we've been able to do because cattle producers respond when they identify a problem.
So the research from the Texas Beef Checkoff being a part of the solution there of the tenderness problem, how long did that take? If we bottomed out in 98,
Yeah.
how long did that take for there to be significant change?
Well, it's shockingly fast. So you got to think about it this way. The checkoff passed in 86. So 1990 was when the first research project came along that was the National Beef Tenderness Survey. That's when we identified that we had a major problem with tenderness. But there were other factors that were happening at the same time that were kind of happenstance, but it all goes together, especially with the kind of business that y'all have. So when I think about your grandfather and your father and the work that you guys have done, what what happened at the same time-ish, like around 2000, 2003, is Texas and Texas A&M got the USDA grant to map the bovine genome. So that was huge. They were looking at, of course, they wanted to map the human genome for genomics research, but they were also looking at animal models. And the one that was really in the running was a porcine genome, so having mapping the pig genome instead of beef. It was a rancher from South Texas who got the money to get USDA to put the money behind mapping the bovine genome. So there was I won't get the story exactly right, so I'm going to stay really high level, but this was Ann Armstrong, who's no normal, ordinary rancher. So she married into to Tobin Armstrong. She was actually from Virginia, I think, kind of a socialite. She also happened to be the ambassador to the court of St. James, which is England, which is a big darn deal.
Kind of.
She also was the chair of the Republican National Committee, which is also kind of a big darn deal.
Yeah.
So she was an advisor to several different presidents. She was a rancher from South Texas.
Wow.
And when she found out that the porcine genome was going to be mapped instead of the bovine, Anne got into action, and she actually worked with Rick Perry at the time, and they pulled together the money to make sure that it was going to be beef cattle and that it was going to happen in Texas. Think about y'all's business and anybody who raises, whether it's commercial bulls or if you're raising purebred cattle, and in your lifetime, you don't remember what it would be like to not have EPDs or carcass quality traits, for example, that you can select for.
Right.
That happened not that long ago.
Yeah.
And so that was going on at the same time the checkoff was investigating, hey, we've got problems with our product. So you get the bovine genome mapped, which is huge.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, all of the breed associations get on board with these are heritable traits for quality markers. And they're looking at other stuff too, whether it's adaptability or whatever it is that y'all are going to look for. They're looking for everything. But all of a sudden, this genetic field opens wide open. But it also allowed us to make advances in tenderness faster too. Then, again on the checkoff side, there was a huge project that went on looking at all of the factors that will affect whether or not meat from a carcass will be tender or tough. And I mean, it went into great detail. I just talked to somebody about this a couple of weeks ago. The guy who actually worked on the project, he was at Colorado State at the time. And it was so fun to hear him tell the story of how they figured out how to impact tenderness for the better. And one of the things that his study came back with is if we would just eliminate the bottom 25% of the worst bulls in the American beef herd, we would solve our problem. And of course, that doesn't happen overnight. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
people have their animals, right? But it was a steady response to, we need to improve the quality of our product. And now, I mean, again, I think of it as a short time because, animals, chickens, you can make advances really quickly, right? Beef cattle, they're pregnant for 9 months, and then you're going to harvest those animals in, let's say 15, maybe 20 months, right?
Yeah.
And then you think about how often are you going to switch your bull genetics or you're going to improve your cow herd genetics. It takes a long time to make changes. But, you go from, say, a rock bottom in 1998 to where we are now, and you just don't see tough beef any longer.
No.
And our
How
quality
would you
is
describe the
incredible.
demand right now?
Oh, it is on fire. It's incredible. And worldwide demand is incredible. And again, what you look at is consumers are still buying our product, even though because of the drought, it's really expensive right now. And consumers are not turning away. They may trade to ground beef, for example, but we also see this, I'm going to call it like a bifurcation. So maybe you've got ground beef over here, which is a much more affordable, versatile, lovable product. I mean, everybody loves ground beef. Everybody loves a great burger. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got people that are splurging on whether it's like an akayushi or a prime product, which would be very similar to what you guys are producing, or possibly wagyu. They're paying a fortune for that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit of everything.
I remember when they started
buying it.
I remember when the first time I went to a steakhouse and they talked about that. I'm going to say it wrong. How'd you say it?
I say wagyu. I don't know how to say it.
I sound super
Japanese.
Texan.
Neither
like
one of us are going to get it right, right? I don't know how to say it.
But I remember they're like, it is, they said so many dollars, but they said per ounce at the end, and I didn't hear that. And I was like,
so like $800 later.
Yeah. Well, thankfully I didn't hear it. I was like, oh, it's only $48. Like,
it's a bargain.
I'll try that. And they're like, per ounce. Oh. Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, I love. I mean, we're in such a good spot, and we've seen with the wild increase in choice and prime beef in the last 10 years, and demand has risen. With that.
Oh yeah, and it's really the quality is leading the way. I mean, if you look at any of the stuff that Cattle Facts puts out, they really show that it's the choice and the prime that's leading the way in the demand. And you know, we have a market where people love grain-fed beef in this country, and they love it around the world. We produce the highest quality beef in the world consistently in terms of the amount also that we can deliver. But our own, you know, the people that live in the United States are used to a high-quality grain-fed product. And boy, as the quality has increased, they're responding. And we really have made a huge difference in the quality and consistency of our product over other proteins. I can't disparage another protein because the checkoff can't do that. I also believe deeply in consumers' right to choose whatever it is they want to eat, right? Whatever it is you like. I won't judge you too harshly if you're going to eat chicken fingers, for example. So chickens don't have fingers, by the way, but that's beside the point. So we'll put that one out there. But where we've gone, like with this quality aspect and how people are choosing beef over other proteins, it's because of the work that was identified through research. But the fact is, none of that happens unless ranchers responded. And that's the thing that I think is impressive about our industry is when I see, and it's hard for ranchers to respond quickly, right? I mean, everything happens so much more slowly. But the response has been sustained and steady over years and years and years. And that's why we're in the boat that we're in right now. Yeah. It's incredible for me to see it from my side of the industry. And I know how hard it is to make those kinds of changes. We have a remarkably resilient industry full of people who truly care about what they're producing.
All right, we're going to move to one of my favorite segments.
Oh, awesome.
Of the thank you for sharing that, by the way. I find that the data so interesting from the consumer side. I don't feel like the ranchers see the end of it as much as we.
It's a little more obscure. More obscure. Yeah.
But this segment brought to you by Ag Gear. I'm going to welcome you to the hot seat.
Okay.
But if you were wearing Ag Gear, the seat wouldn't be so hot. I wear Ag Gear because it keeps me cool. So that's why I
bought Ag Gear for my husband because of you.
Hey, there you go.
And I use Tucker Brown as my discount code. I just want you to know that.
I think you need to maybe give her a break then on
wearing
the Ag Gear. She did buy it.
I did. I bought him several shirts, and he loves them.
Awesome. And I do too. That's why I'm wearing one right now. But use discount code Tucker Brown at aggear.com, Ag Gear Clothing.
Lower that MSRP.
Lower it up.
You're as bad as
Try it out. Something like that. You're supposed to know that.
That's right. I know.
But so I'm gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You can say pass if there's some that you can't answer. Like chicken or beef?
Beef.
Okay, just making sure.
Passing on that. Yeah.
What's your favorite cut of beef?
Ribeye.
How do you like it cooked?
Medium rare.
Mesquite wood or oak wood?
Or
pan fried?
Well, it depends. I'm going to say mesquite, but I got to tell you anyway. I don't care if it's on a gas grill or on a cast iron skillet on
Good
stove.
answer.
Yep.
What is the most underrated cut of beef?
Well, it may be the Spinellus dorsi, which is the cap of the ribeye. Now, you know it if you get a ribeye. When you go order a ribeye, what you really need to do is tell them you want it from the large end. Insist that they choose the steak from the large end because then you're going to get that big Spinellus dorsi. Yeah. It's incredibly tender. It's got a high fat content, but that makes it even better. So that's probably it. People don't know what it is, but it's on a ribeye. That's why I love it so much.
Me too. Favorite side dish to go with the steak?
That's very situational. I'm gonna say this is rapid fire. I'm gonna say sugar snap peas with butter.
Sugar
Snap peas.
snap peas.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know what that is.
Well, they're green. It is a vegetable. Does that help?
Sure. Is it a green bean?
They
Kind of. It's kind of like a green bean.
they originate from the pea plant.
That's right. Yeah, it's a veggie.
What's a common beef myth that makes you laugh?
Well, it doesn't make me laugh. It kind of ticks me off a little bit, and that is that the red color in beef comes from a dye.
It doesn't?
No, no, Baltimore man, it does not come from a dye. We've talked about this.
That's kind of, I guess it's just how you're talking about, just people hear stuff and they just assume that's true. Like, that's
Yeah,
kind
and
of
I think
outrageous.
sometimes they assume the worst of
Yeah.
industries as well.
They're
you know.
dyeing the meat.
I know. They're not dyeing the meat. It's just a pretty red color. It's our naturally pretty red color.
You're on the road quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite go-to road snack?
Beef jerky.
Good one.
Yep, beef jerky and usually a cup of coffee. But now, because I see this ranch fuel, because of the ingredient deck,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm going to buy the stuff.
Come on.
I mean it.
With discount code Tucker Brown.
I'll use it.
If you had 30 seconds to convince someone to eat more beef, what are some things you'd say?
I think what I would say is that protein is a critical part of a human diet, and that animal protein metabolizes completely differently than plant protein. So you will not get the same experience if you eat a steak versus if you eat a protein bar. For example, steak tastes better.
Amen.
Frankly, it metabolizes better in your body. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's better for you.
Come on.
And by the way, it makes all those vegetables on your plate taste better too.
Oh.
So you get it all.
No
You're
wonder
going
I
to look
like
a lot
veggies.
cooler.
Yeah, that is true. You
You're
will look a lot
eating
cooler.
a steak than a carrot.
You're right about that. That's a great
You
point.
look a lot cooler.
There's a prestige to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next thing we're going to see in the beef checkoff deal is like, look cooler with steak.
I mean, you will.
Willie.
You go and
Yeah,
pass a
Willie.
guy,
Look cooler with steak with Willie
see a
Warren.
guy eating a carrot, you see a guy eating a steak, I'm like, well, that guy's the Easter Bunny. This other guy, I mean, he's pretty cool.
I'm with you on that.
If you did not work in the beef industry, where would you work?
Well, you know what I really wanted to do growing up is I wanted to be a race car driver.
Ooh.
Dale Earnhardt.
I know. Oh yeah, Dale Earnhardt. I do love me some Dale Earnhardt.
Me too.
RIP.
One of my favorite quotes is "Everything's under control. You're going too slow."
Mm-hmm.
No, it's Dale Earnhardt.
The Intimidator.
Yeah. So maybe a race car driver. So my brother was always a mechanic. He's still a good mechanic, and he kind of kept me in cars. But I do like to drive fast, and I like to test some limits. So that's probably what I would have done. Although I don't know that I really would have done that. I probably would have done something much safer, like be a home builder or something like that. I don't know.
Go back to the art thing.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I wasn't very good at it, candidly. Let's just get that out there.
All right, two more questions. I feel like everybody has this like one steak that they remember and where it was and why. What is that steak for you, and where was it at?
I think it's going to have to be Bohannon's in San Antonio. They are a great restaurant. They're a great steakhouse. But what it is about Bohannon's is everything is perfection. Now, that is taking nothing away from Perini Ranch Steakhouse.
Ah, good ones. Okay, yeah.
Because just in terms of the experience and the outdoor experience and being with Tom and Lisa and their crew, that's the best. You can't get better than that. They're just a long way away from us.
Yeah.
And Bohannon is about 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
So.
Last question: Walmart or HEB?
Oh. Okay. We're done. What in the world? Kind of a question.
Somebody, I don't know, it's from the crowd.
Who
okay?
asked that?
It seriously came from the crowd?
Why does it say
Oh,
no?
I was going to say, oh my gosh, I'm making fun of somebody. I was making fun of you. Yeah.
Why does it say notes Tucker Brown on the top of that? God.
Yeah, I had to go
No,
there.
I bleed red. I mean, it's all about HEB.
Wreck them, right?
Go Raiders.
Y'all.
Oh, that's good. All right, you're out of the hot seat.
Okay.
Tucker, what about you? What steak do you remember? Is there one that sticks out? Put you in the hot seat. You have egg
My
here,
hot
so it
seat
shouldn't matter.
After, I remember it clearly. After Carly and I came back from the hospital of having our first baby,
Oh,
we came home. We had been at the hospital and we hadn't slept, and she was just like, "I want a steak."
Yeah.
so you cooked up some of that R.A. Brown Ranch.
Did, and I think it was more because of the moment. But like a prime RAB steak, raised it. I started the fire, and we like sat outside. The weather, it was like all perfect.
Yeah.
And so like that's the one I
awesome.
remember most of just being like, this is it. I'm a dad.
It's a core memory
I'm a
right
dad
there.
cooking for my family.
That's
Bet you wouldn't have
awesome.
had that feeling cooking carrots.
Nope, you wouldn't.
To the Easter Bunny.
You
Easter Bunny eating food.
I wasn't craving a carrot.
no. But we're gonna rotate over to another one of my favorite segments.
Yeah.
One of my favorite segments is the Bedrock Tough Question, and it's tough, really tough, just like a Bedrock Bedrock truck bed.
Yes.
Bedrock truck beds are the best and the toughest truck beds there are, and that's why we use them at the ranch. We got 2 of them, and by the time this one comes out,
The 15th or is it the 11th?
the 15th
Okay.
is when it comes
4
out.
days away.
From now, 4 days away is when the new truck bed comes out that we have, and we're going to be able to post about it on the 15th. So if you're listening to this after then,
Yeah.
go check it out.
We can't talk about it. It's confidential.
Okay.
Area
secret.
51 was the
tell you off the mic.
research laboratory.
Anyway, the Bedrock Tough Truck Bed Question. Check out Bedrock Truck Beds. We love them, and you will too. What is the toughest thing, Miss McAdams, about working in the beef industry?
Well, by far, it's working cattle with my husband.
Oh,
Yeah.
great spot. I mean, I didn't know you.
Without a squeeze chute, by the way. We don't have a squeeze chute.
No
No, we don't.
panels.
No, well, we do have panels, but I don't know how to rope. So guess who gets to be down on the ground?
Flank.
Well, no, I don't usually flank, but I'm the castrator
Oh, okay.
on the ground with a cow snorting snot in my face. And my
Nice.
husband safely up on a horse, saying she ain't going to get you.
She's bluffing.
She's bluffing. And I'm like, no, I'm screaming at him. No, she's coming after me.
Yeah.
She ain't bluffing.
She ain't going to do
She ain't
anything to
bluffing.
you. She ain't going to do anything to you. That's what I hear. And I hear a lot of, can I curse on this, like a mild curse word?
Of course.
Yeah.
Darn it, darling. But it's not darn it, darling. He says that to me a lot, and I'm like, those 2 words don't go in the same sentence, by the way, especially when I'm down there kneeling, middle-aged woman kneeling in the manure, castrating a calf.
It sounds like
he's
this
up
is
on a
from
horse.
experience.
It's from experience.
Very,
It is.
very detailed.
It's,
It sounds like an exact situation.
yeah, many times. And I keep and he's like, you know how expensive squeeze chutes are? I'm like, I don't know, but I know how expensive it's going to be if I end up in the hospital. That's what I do know.
It's like Easton sending me to get that little red calf. That was over in PA.
Yeah.
He knew.
I feel like there's the statement that may or may not have been said by you. Don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Go ahead.
I feel like this statement may have been made by you of like, if you don't help me, you will be castrated instead of this calf.
No, that sounds like something Jim would have said.
Okay.
No, so Jim doesn't always tell the truth. I'm going to say that. He does like to embellish.
Yeah.
So it does sound like something he would say that I said. I don't believe I ever said that. I probably thought it,
Yeah.
to be candid.
Yeah.
I probably had thought it. And then you go up and you wash your hands and you start lunch. So that's just what a day
There you
looks
go.
like,
At
right?
least you wash your hands.
I do
Hey,
wash my hands.
At least you wash your hands.
Yes.
Well, there. Yeah. All right. You're out of the tough question. That was a good one. Mm-hmm. That was a good one. Anyway, Bedrock Truck Beds. Thanks for sponsoring the Bedrock Truck Bed Tough Question.
Tremendously tough truck beds.
Yep. Got to go get one. And if it's the 15th, you can see the new truck bed on our social media platform. What are some of the Texas Beef Checkoff reaching consumers with the checkoff dollars? What are some of the unique ways that the checkoff is able to reach those consumers?
Well, kind of like, some of the work that you do, there's a lot of different ways. And the way that we can amplify our message is with partners. So whether it's a retailer who does a really good job with information that they get from us, whether it's a chef who showcases our product and highlights it in a very compelling, flattering, delicious way. But the other thing that we do is that we work with influencers, social media influencers, who will with their own spirit and their own sense of humor, their own creativity, talk about our product in a very favorable way. And then they're reaching their consumers and their followers with information about the product, really from a different voice. It can be maybe a bit more irreverent or maybe humorous.
A little dancing.
Yeah, and it's fun. And consumers like it because then it's less serious and it feels good, and they're interested in what this person has to say, and then in some cases they're speaking on our behalf as well. And we get close to them, they learn more about beef, and so it ends up being a really beneficial relationship. We love doing that kind of stuff.
Collaborations.
Great collaborations.
Collaborations.
I like to amplify.
Some of the collabs I've loved the most has been like when y'all brought Jess Pryles to Beef Cattle Short Course.
Oh yeah.
Or had her do some of the like videos in that on preparation for those. How many ribeye rolls? 1,800.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Oh dang, I forgot.
1,800 people, right?
Yeah.
1,800 people.
Cooking ribeyes for 1,800 people.
Yeah, I don't know how many ribeye rolls that would be. Probably, gosh, I don't know. Probably 150 or so. I don't know.
Anyway,
that's
those are some of my favorite ones. But I always found it interesting that it was an Australian, an Australian cooking American beef, talking about the Texas Beef Council, and maybe not even the Texas Beef Council, but the product.
Beef loving Texans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about that, but I love some good collabs.
Yep. And Jess is so talented, and she's really knowledgeable. I mean, she's so well prepared. She's very professional, but she has a great personality. It comes through in everything that she does. She has a great sense of humor that is can be a bit avant-garde, and I like that about her. Especially when she's off camera, she's very avant-garde. I mean, she's just great to be around. But, she's really knowledgeable. She knows her stuff. And, she's doing this thing where she's cleaning out her freezer.
Yeah.
And it was just funny to see, she'd dig something out of her freezer. It's like, I'm going to cook this today. So, I mean, she knows what she's doing. She's fun to watch. And she's got that great accent,
Yeah, a little Australian.
I can't do that. I can't. I've been there, but I can't do it. That's very clever of you, though. That's a hard accent to do.
I watched too much Steve Irwin. I had this whole story in college that I was just south of Sydney. I grew up south of Sydney. My dad and I owned this fishing company. In the ocean. I mean, here in the States, you call it the ocean, but in Australia, we call it the wet. We fish the wet every day.
Yeah.
He's straight. Right after you got done mustering the cattle at the paddock.
I've never seen this side of you. I like it.
No, yeah. Hey, it's approved. It's Jess Pryles approved.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's good.
And so she still kind of makes fun of me. You should.
She probably should.
You should. Yeah, I deserve
Make a little bit of fun.
It's all right.
It was convincing, though.
It was good enough.
It's pretty good. It's a hard accent.
She was like, all right, yeah, let me hear your Australian accent. Everybody says they have one. And then it's like, oh, okay.
It's actually not bad.
Not bad.
Okay, not bad.
That's right.
If I forgot one question in the hot seat, and we'll go back to that for just a second.
Okay.
I'll steal this question from, and the reason I remembered it is because it was, hang on, oh, she's going to kill me. I'm under pressure, and I want to make sure I get her name right, that it is Jessie Jarvis. I had Jess in my head. That Jessie Jarvis does on her podcast, which is a great one, Of the West. If you could have a steak dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would it be with?
Oh, that's always so hard because, it's kind of like you got to be really thoughtful, of course, and choose. I mean, if you're going to eat with anybody, don't you want to eat with Jesus? Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Break the bread.
Anybody. But then, if you get perhaps more realistic about it, I don't know. I feel like maybe James Arness. Matt Dillon. Would that be kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he did like 38 seasons of Gunsmoke or some crazy amount like that. I think it would be fun to sit and find out a little bit more about that buckskin horse that he rode. Kind of paddled a little bit. I did notice that about that horse, which I found it to be a little disturbing. But other than that, a good old horse, right? I mean, he rode him for forever.
Yeah, 38 seasons worth.
I know. I know. I've seen every episode. I'd like to sit down and eat with him.
Who's yours, Willie?
Lane Frost or Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, yeah.
Good ones.
Those are good ones.
One of those, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Steve Irwin was always mine. That's always
Yeah.
my answer. Just because
I hate stingrays.
yeah.
Well,
I've done
all that
research.
stuff, all the pokey, bitey, stingy,
Well, I did.
poisonous. Yeah.
I forget now. I don't remember now. Oh, short-tailed stingrays are the ones that killed Steve Irwin. Their lifespan's 26 years, and that means if he was killed in 2006, there's still some of them that are conspiracying.
To get somebody else.
Yeah. So I
His
think
friends.
we need to find these short-tailed stingrays and get rid of them.
Make some Finolio boots out of them.
Yeah. There was a pair of stingray boots there, and I wanted to get them just out of spite to support.
Yeah, to support the Steve Irwin Foundation
Yes.
against
Yes.
short-tailed stingrays.
I cried when he died, and that I didn't even
I
understand.
remember it.
I was
do
so
remember
little,
the
I don't
day.
even
Yeah.
didn't understand death, but I knew that Steve Irwin was gone, and it hurt.
I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, I
I just
remember when he
I want to
died, too.
be
It did
as
hurt.
I want to be like as excited as he was.
About everything.
Yeah.
Just about his life. And his kids have gone on in his legacy.
Yeah.
It's impressive to see what his wife and his children have
Yeah.
done.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Isn't it? Where were we before I went on this?
I don't know how we
Who
got
she was
on.
going to have steak dinner
Chefs.
with.
Yeah, there you go. Chefs, influencers.
Yes, yeah, and influencers. Work with some dietitians I've
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's been pretty neat. And I got to meet some dietitians through NCBA, and that was super unique. One from Chicago. I always bring her up because she's one of my favorites.
She's pretty cool, except for that little shot of vegetable. That little carrot shot.
It
Oh,
was.
it was carrots again.
No, it's
I don't know what it was, but it is
bad
not.
news.
Humans should not be consuming
Bad
that
news.
alcohol.
Yeah,
It
Christina
should not
Chu.
be illegal.
Christina Chu, you did that to us. But it was super unique because she had never seen a cow before.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
And then she came to the bull sale. She flew down from Chicago, came to our bull sale,
That's
and
fun.
stayed in Throckmorton, had a Allsup's burrito.
Yeah.
And
Oh, gross. I shouldn't say that. I've eaten a lot of them in my life, but I'm not a big fan. I think it's just because when I walk into an Allsup's, it smells like those burritos.
it does. It does. Yep.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
That was going to be my rebuttal to your. There's the 3 Bs that are
Oh.
inflation proof, not at the Allsups and Throckmorton. When I go to get Copenhagen there, there's a little extra middle of nowhere tax on that because I can get it for $2 cheaper a can in Graham. It's my only rant. I don't want to debunk what your dad's saying, but Throckmorton is an
you still buy
anomaly.
it.
You're still buying it.
Oh, I'm still
That's-
buying
I
it.
think
So
that's
so
what
it's inflation-proof.
Donald
You
is
just proved the
saying.
point.
It is
Oh,
inflation proof. You're still buying
Son
it.
of a gun. Never
Yeah,
mind.
that's what it is.
I'm going to
And you
edit
know what?
that
It's
out
a
of the
very, very
podcast.
bad habit. I think you should quit it while you're young. Terrible habit.
Yep.
But you know that.
Yeah, I know. I'll quit about the time that I finish college.
Are you going to finish?
Okay.
Ross was talking to me about TCU, and I was like, yeah, well, I probably need to finish college first. He's like, oh, no, you can get in here you don't have to have a college degree. And that's when they started talking to me. I was like, well, you know what? Like, if I went and finished this, then I could tell my mom, like, I got a college education.
There you go.
It's like, I'll be
TCU
back here
ranch
in,
management.
like, in
Proud of
10 years, I'll be back. 10 years, I'll be back, and I'll come and do the
go through
TCU
it.
project.
You'll go through it. Now we get to go to a new segment to where you get to ask. You become the host. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Molly McAdams show.
But
You get to
Tucker,
become the
Tucker's just the host, so you can only ask him questions.
Yeah.
I'd love to answer your questions, but as a
I do have a
co-host,
question for you.
host. Oh,
I do.
this isn't how this works.
Yeah. So I think we should
show,
start
Willie.
with
Dang it.
young Willie over here.
okay. I'm so excited.
Yes. So I'm curious to know about your background, and what I'd like to know is, I don't know how tough of a question is, but how did you get from Baltimore to Throckmorton, USA,
From the streets.
From the
from the,
streets.
from the streets of Baltimore, to quote Bobby Bear? How did you get here? What brought you to Throckmorton, and more importantly, like, how'd you get into this gig? Why are you staying? I mean, you feel like one of us now.
I
What
guess
happened?
I'll tell you the honest answer. Most of the time, I tell people that I was in gangs there on the streets of Baltimore, and
You look like
that-
a gangster.
that's not true whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm
All
from
right.
is like 45 minutes northeast of Baltimore. It's like Amish country. Like if you think of Charlotte's Web, that's pretty much where I was
Okay.
living.
Got
But
Good description.
yeah,
I
that is a
always
good
it really is. Well, you went there recently and you saw.
Yeah.
But yeah. Long story short, my friend, everyone in Maryland where I was at, a lot of people have like maybe 4 or 5 steers.
Yeah.
And then they'll raise them and then they'll go get them. Have a little process. So I always thought it was cool. Didn't know anything about it. I grew up playing soccer. I skateboarded.
Yeah.
I fished a little bit, but nothing to do with ranching whatsoever. And I will go on YouTube and I would watch Dale Brisby a lot. I was a big Dale
Oh,
Brisby
God, I
fan.
love
Still
Dale
am.
Brisby.
And I saw that he had an internship program. This is when COVID hit. So like I was going to Penn State. I played college soccer there, and COVID hit, and was thinking of taking maybe just a break. Like I wanted to get into ag. So I was like, well, Dale Brisby has his internship. Like maybe I apply for this. And like I thought there's no way that I was going to get it. But I was sending him videos. Well, for whatever reason, he picked Alex Wardle from Baltimore, Maryland. And I came down and I told him on my Instagram, my Instagram handle is always Willie Wardle because William's my middle name. And he started calling me Willie because he only knew me through Instagram and applying. And I was like, well, this guy's pretty cool. And like, I just got down here. Like, I'm not going to tell him what to call me. Like, call me whatever. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
I'll work for free. Call me whatever. So just started going by Willie then.
Yeah.
And
You didn't say you'd work for me for free.
Well, by then, I mean,
yeah, well, by then I had the experience.
Okay.
You know?
I was going to say,
Because I didn't know how to edit videos, and he was looking for a video editor. So
awesome.
I figured, like, I told Dale, I was like, well, I don't know how to ranch. I don't know how to edit. Like, how can I separate myself from all these other people applying? So I told him, I was like, I will work for free for as long as you want. I'll listen to a bunch of podcasts and did some research, and by listening through them, I figured out what editing software they used.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I know you use Final Cut, and I've already downloaded it on my computer. Like, I've been watching some videos.
Good at it.
And, like, I'm ready to come do the job.
That's awesome.
So I came down there and forgot completely about ranching and started riding bulls. I wanted to start riding broncs.
What did your mother think?
I didn't tell her for a really long time. Because like they didn't even know the difference between the PBR and the PRCA, and neither did I.
Right.
Like, JB Mooney was really the only. JB Mooney and Lane Frost were the only bull riders I knew at the time.
Yeah, and one died and one got
died
hurt
and one's
badly.
hurt. But he was still riding by that time when I was starting.
Still.
But I just started riding bulls, and that led to me. I was at Dale's for 2.5 years, and then I went up and worked for the Frost for, I think, about 8 months up there in Randolph, Utah.
Yeah.
And got to see and didn't do any editing there. I just worked at their ranch, and then I got on a bunch of practice bulls that Joe and Josh have, and Josh just won the world. Like, for whatever reason, God has blessed me. Like, there's no reason a kid from Maryland that wants to ride bulls and also ranch gets the opportunity to go work for Dale Brisby, then go work for a world champion bull rider, and then came back home from Maryland for a little bit. Didn't think riding bulls was for me, and
Yeah. It's not for a lot of people. I'm just gonna
well,
throw that
the
out
story keeps going.
Oh no! Oh, wait. There's more.
Tucker offered me a job. I came down, started working with Tucker, get to be around some amazing horses, even better people.
Yeah.
Being around the Browns and the people that they have working at the ranch. They surround the ranch and everyone there with great people. Grace, Tell, all of them. And then I started riding bulls again in September. Started riding better than I ever did before after taking a year break. And I thought about it a lot. I was like, I just really miss riding bulls. But I just kept telling myself, like, this isn't for me. And then it got to the point is like, I'm going to have a lot of regret if I don't see this through and like give it a full effort. And like Steph Curry was told he couldn't play basketball because he was too short. And he said, why not me? So figured, I started riding bulls when I was 22, but why not? See what happens.
What's the end goal? You want
For bull riding?
Yeah.
As I just work my tail off and see whatever God's plan is. But I'd like a gold buckle. I'd like to be a world champion one
There you
day.
go.
I might be a 45-year-old world champion because I started so long. But that's just like Dale's really big on
I need to
your
accelerate
story.
that learning curve a little bit. Go
Yeah.
exponential on us. That's what you need to do.
That's what I need
go
to start.
exponential. Yeah.
Start really. It'd be a lot funner if I was staying on top of them. But it's starting. I'm starting to stay on top of them a lot longer now.
Yep.
That's
but
awesome.
no, God's story, or like Dale says, everyone has their own story, and my story's just a little bit older, and
Yeah.
I get to do some fun stuff with Tucker and made amazing people, and that's how I'm here.
Yeah.
So I guess that was a long way around, but
No, it's a good story though.
the gang stuff's all made up. I was never in a gang. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah, you don't really look like a gangster. But whatever
hurts.
a gangster really looks like, you don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't look like it. You don't want to look like that in Throckmorton, Texas.
No, maybe more of like a Robert De Niro gangster or mobster. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
even so, I think you would stick out like a sore thumb in Throckmorton. Yeah. I don't know. I
Donald
think
wouldn't
they'd sort you out pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, there's cops everywhere.
So Tucker, when I think about so I remember when you were born, because I was in school with your parents, and thinking about you grew up on this ranch, your family has this storied ranching history, really interesting uncles and cousins and all the whole 9 yards. When I think about people that are in ranching and they're trying to do what you're doing, which is, you're connecting with consumers over the story about ranching. And you're humorous and you don't take yourself too seriously. What would you tell someone who is trying to do what you're doing? Because we need more people to do it. There's not a lot of folks like you out there, so we need a lot of you talking about what you do. So, what was your motivation? How did you get over your fears? And how have you become so successful? You're like a registered ranching magnate. That's how I see you.
I like that.
How did that happen?
Oh gosh. Well, I come from a family of speakers,
Yeah, that's true.
and I
Big T
grew
for
up
Walker.
doing that, and I've done radio, sports radio now for 10 years,
Yep.
and so I think that helped me because I had to paint the picture without them seeing what was going on. So my vocabulary and learning how to explain, and that was really good for what I do now. But I think a lot of times we just get so dug in on trying to make this hard sell, and I'm not really like, at times, am I talking about selling something like ranch fuel or something? I mean, yeah, but really most of our social media is just Willie and I
Having fun.
having fun, and then sharing what we do. And I'm not. People really don't care about what you have to say unless they know how much you care about what you do or who you care about.
Yep.
And so I just like showing people that I care about the industry, or I care about our cows, or I care about our horses, and it's really easy to talk about the things we love, right?
Yeah.
So that's what Willie and I do. We talk about the things we love, and then I studied it. So the Trailblazer program that NCBA offers was phenomenal for me, because now I can describe things in a way that our consumer way better understands. Because if I go in there and start talking about yearlings on wheat, we bought 4 weights, kicked them on some wheat, they gained 2.5, maybe 3.
Right.
None of that just made sense.
What are all these numbers and what's he doing with force?
But if I can say, hey, we bought some younger calves and they need to be on really good nutrition, so we put them on the best, and that's wheat, and it's really good for them, and they were actually gaining 2.5 pounds a day, which is pretty good, and it's healthier for them, and I can see them and doctor them if I need to. That's what relates to them.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that until going through that program. So yeah, there's a lot more people getting into it, and I love it because there needs to be more than me, and there are more than me. But I think it starts by just sharing what we do and we love, which is easy to do because I think people like to talk about the things they love.
Yeah.
And I get it all the time they're like, well, I don't want to be on the camera. I don't want to have to be professional. I'm like, I'm the last professional, quote unquote.
There's really no production in our videos are just, we're horseback, and then I just press a red button. I'm filming Tucker. Like, if there was no camera, we'd be doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And I think that was something I was going to kind of compliment Tucker on, is just, if we weren't, because we were talking about that, was that today or yesterday? That I was just like, if we weren't making these videos, like, you're doing this regardless.
Yeah. Yesterday, yeah.
I just press a red button and film. I was doing it anyways.
Just show what we're doing and why, and then have some fun along the way.
Yeah. Well, it's had a huge impact. So when I think about the work that you guys are doing, not taking it back to the checkoff or anything like that, but we're all trying to do the same thing, which is really give consumers this, this closeness and this affinity to our product, but they have to understand who raises it too. And that's why that's so important. So I just think it's super cool. I love watching y'all's videos, and I have my little occasional comments.
Oh yeah,
every once in a while.
And it's a win-win.
I haven't won an award for naming one of y'all's horses yet, and I'm wondering why.
It's Kelly Brown. You're gonna have to get on to her.
I know
Or you
her.
could,
She's
I mean,
my friend.
I could probably. Little money, I could,
Right.
put a good word in.
That's what I'll figure out. What's Miss Kelly going to respond to?
Yeah.
A good name is what she's going to respond
Lanham,
to. And so
Lanham
far, I
hasn't
haven't
let me
coughed one
name the
up.
horse.
Yeah,
A halter broke one, and he sold it.
yeah, he did.
Oh,
Yeah, he did.
hopefully for a lot of money.
Probably.
Hey, those are good questions
Those are.
on the Molly McAdams podcast.
Thank you. Right off the top of my head.
I started getting a little sweaty on mine. I was
Yeah,
like,
you did. He
"Oh."
raised that hat up. And was
He's
like,
like-
oh, here we go.
She's like, well, it's a good thing you quit. Well, actually, I didn't.
Actually,
I'm
I
right back at
haven't.
it. How long are you going to do this? Until I get something that's gold.
Teeth or a buckle.
Teeth or a
Yeah,
buckle.
exactly.
Or both.
Exactly. Teeth or a
Ideally
buckle.
both. I get a grill.
Oh, God.
Registered ranching.
There, riding for the brand.
Then I would look like a gangster.
So, Miss Molly, where is the beef industry going?
Well, when I think about all the innovation that we've had in our industry, we raise the most sustainable beef in the world when you look at sustainability metrics, right? So, and what that really means is about producing more with less. I think where we are going to now will be this new phase of transparency with consumers, where they understand more about us, where they understand the nutritional value that comes with beef. But more importantly, where I really hope we're going is where consumers understand more about how animals are raised, not just beef, frankly, not just cattle, but animal agriculture in general.
Yeah.
And that's a hope of mine. But the reason it's a hope is because it's so critical to feeding the world. Certainly not just the United States, all over the world. The ag industry in the United States is feeding the rest of the world. And if our consumers don't understand it, it worries me what can happen to the ag industry. You see farmlands go away, you see ranch lands go away. So that increased transparency, it helps because it humanizes us, the people that are doing this for a living. It humanizes us to consumers that are buying the product, and they have more faith in it. So I think we've already made tremendous headway in that, and probably since the iPhone was invented, which is now, 12 years old, 11, 12 years old, somewhere around in there. It's changed the game with the way that we communicate with consumers, and you guys are a perfect example of that. So that's what I see is greater transparency, consumers understanding more about agriculture, even though they're further removed from it than ever.
Yeah.
But our industry is an innovative one. We'll keep innovating. We're going to keep getting better at raising animals and feeding animals and getting product to consumers that's safe and wholesome and delicious and nutritious. That has been a trajectory we've been on for some time, and we're going to continue that. No doubt in my mind.
Where you do quite a bit of speaking. Where are you speaking next?
Well, that is a good question. Actually, you got me into this deal.
Did I?
Yes, you did. You did. Because I'm going to go
Why are
to.
you pointing so hard?
Well, because I saw a text message. They were in our office the other day, and it was like, oh, actually, Tucker Brown is who recommended you for this. And I was like, really?
Oh.
On Derby Day. So I'm going to be in Llano, I think, or Lampasas. I'm not sure where I'm going to be. It's going to be Central Texas. I'm looking forward to it. And it's next Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak to a Central Texas group. You can't be there because your wife is having a baby, honestly.
I kind of have.
What's wrong with you?
I know. I don't understand. Where's your commitment? I don't get it. But then you said, choose Molly McAdams. And I think you referred to me as a stud.
I did, quote
Yes.
unquote.
Yes, you
She is
did.
a stud.
That's what you said.
what I said.
He likes that word. He's been saying it since his Instagram post in 2013.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stud.
Yes. There you go.
Stallion, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Anyway.
Yeah, in the most flattering form.
Right. I took it as a
Good.
term of endearment. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's the best term of endearment
That's
I have
right.
in my vocabulary,
Yeah,
which isn't very
absolutely.
wide. So
I get it.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
Thank you for that, by the way. I'll take it. It's a masculine moniker, but I don't care.
The best stud.
The best. That's right.
So, will you be speaking at a convention where others, like at Beef Cattle Short Course or anything?
I'm not sure yet at Beef Cattle Short Course. We're doing some planning for that, so possibly. There'll be. I don't
more
know what my
opportunities.
summer has in store for me, but there will be a lot of different events where I'm going to be. We're always present at the Independent Cattlemen's Association. We do something special for them every time. We'll be at the Farm Bureau meeting in the summer. We'll be at a cattle feeders meeting in the summer. Of course, we're here with cattle raisers right now. I'll be at the cattle raisers summer meeting as well.
Yep.
So there's always an opportunity to have something to say and be a part of a great program. We love to collaborate with all the cattlemen's organizations to see what they need for their members.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So if you heard it, if she's there and you see her on the schedule, you need to go listen.
Come listen.
Come listen.
Listen.
If not, that's on you.
Because it's probably not just me that enjoys the talk.
I appreciate
enjoys the talk. We like to kind of, as we're wrapping up here, we always like to ask our guest, what is a favorite verse or something you've been studying lately or anything like that?
So I thought about this driving up here.
Okay.
And so this is a weird little choice, but it's going to go back to COVID. So I don't know if you guys did this, but everybody had like their hand washing songs for COVID.
Oh, okay.
I know,
So you could wash it long enough. Yeah.
for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to sing Happy Birthday like 40 times or however many times you had to. So mine was Great is Thy Faithfulness.
Oh,
And I love that hymn. It's one of my favorite hymns. But
are you going to sing it for us?
no, I won't.
Okay.
I could, but I won't. I'll save you that. But when you go back to the verse that, or the scripture that great is thy faithfulness is based on, there's some New Testament and there's some Old Testament. But if you go back to the old one, it's Lamentations 3:22-23. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. Love that. They're new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. And that makes me think of every morning when I get up and I walk out on our back porch and I look back and there's calves back there and there's birds singing. And every morning it's new. But I love that. And I love thinking about all the way back to, every day you wake up and you've got that new opportunity to have that relationship with the Lord, whatever that means to you. But then the song comes into my head. I bet I sing that song once a day.
And
At
did
least.
that start in COVID? Like that? Or did you
I
kind
don't
of
know.
have
I
that
mean,
before?
I'm kind of I love all the old hymns, and they're easy to remember. And then they all go back to a Bible verse, right? And then it makes you explore. Okay, what Bible verse does it go back to?
Yeah.
And you're going to see whether it's Old Testament, New Testament. Then you can explore it a little bit. But that song became very important to me, I think, during COVID, because everything was so unsettled. And, our life didn't change very much.
Right.
Yours probably didn't.
Right.
For me, H-E-B was open, the feed store was open, and I was working from home.
Yeah.
So whatever we needed, we had.
Uh-huh.
And our life did not change very much. The biggest change was when we would drive from where we lived to the ranch. There was no place to stop to go to the bathroom because they were all closed. That's right. I mean, because it's a 4.5 hour drive. And so it's like, well, there's no place to stop. But for people that live in the outdoors, life didn't change that much. But I did see the unsettled events for people that I knew that lived in cities.
Yeah.
And so I had those weird COVID nightmares. And I think in particular that idea of every morning is a new day. Every morning you're going to see new mercies. It was really important to me at that time.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I still
cool.
love it. Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll sing it for you sometime.
I'm holding you to it. Willie, you have one?
Yeah. I think it's Jeremiah 29:11.
That's a
I
good
can't
one.
I can't quote it exactly, but the gist of it is don't worry about really anything. Like God's plans for you are of good and for virtue. Maybe not virtue, I forget the word, but God has good plans for you. He's not planning your demise or evil. Because I think we do a lot of worrying and stressing, and I shared that with someone here recently. Just don't worry. Like God's got a plan for you. They're good plans. Like if you're always worrying and stressing all the time, like you're missing a lot of life.
I think it says in Philippians, it's like don't worry about nothing, but pray about everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
But I do have one that I think that was very fitting in 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. Just let it be beef that you eat. It doesn't. The end was a little added, but
Paul didn't say that.
maybe
Wasn't it Paul's
I feel like
letter
he
to the
did, he just
Corinthians?
didn't write it down.
He didn't write it.
He
I
just-
think he meant it.
I
Yeah.
think he meant
I know
it.
what he meant.
Yeah.
So have you had Chick-fil-A before?
I have had Chick-fil-A before.
That's
Chick-fil-A fan?
Jesus' chicken.
It's pre-blessed chicken.
Yeah,
pretty blessed.
I am a fan of Chick-fil-A. And those young people that work there are so polite.
They are.
And
Makes me
I
want to
tell
go
you,
back.
They can have a line like for 5 miles and you're in and out in no time. I feel like if Chick-fil-A ran operations for like say TSA at an airport,
Oh my goodness.
how much better would it go?
Now that's the kind of
Let-
ideas that we need.
That's right.
That's the kind of stuff that we need. Why don't we have
Chick-fil-A
that?
involved.
At the top.
And then instead of them yelling at me like, take your shoes off, it's
Exactly.
like, my pleasure.
My pleasure.
Flight
Yes.
would be a lot better. Especially Southwest charging us for bags now. At least
Yes.
they can say is thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. Let's turn it over to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, what a pleasure to have you
Yeah.
on the Registered
It was
Ranching
my
podcast.
pleasure.
So fun. It was
It
my
was
pleasure.
my pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much. Molly McAdams, another round there from the fans. And shout out to Miss Victoria Heller in the peanut gallery.
Keeping us straight in the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I know. We all need the help. I'm glad I'm not the only one that needs help.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I need help. She's helped me pretty much the entire day, including my drive up here. So I've gotten a lot of help from Miss Victoria Heller today.
We all need it. Shout out Victoria.
That's right. Victoria.
Hey, you're listening to the Registered Ranching podcast. Willie, man, that was a good one.
That was a good one. My feet don't hurt at all.
No, because there's new boots.
New boot booth, the new boot booth, and that's more new boots. You're going to check it out. We're probably going to have a discount code soon. Who knows? Who knows?
I don't even think I needed this ranch bill. Just how engaging that conversation was.
It was electrifying.
It was ecstatic.
You had
I
to
didn't
reach
finish
there.
college.
You reached there.
Yeah, you need to quit that bull riding and just go back to school.
You got to quit dipping.
Quit
Dude,
dipping. Quit riding those bulls.
It's not an addiction. It's a passion.
It's a
Which? The bull
All
riding?
of the above.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Passion.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Registered Ranching podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in with us. A couple things not to forget. First of all, the Alamo.
Do not forget the
Don't
Alamo. I
forget the
swear.
Alamo. But yeah, y'all stay classy. But most of all,
Ranch on them.
ranch on 'em. Yeah. Hey, God bless. We love you.
I was thinking about telling you there wasn't. All emotions stopped.